All right, we're gonna see if this takes off. All right, same as last time. Just chill out. We're gonna let people come in when they want, hang out, watch things. I'm in the politics section, so the idea that someone's actually gonna see this is very rare, which I'm glad. Because from my standpoint, not too many people are gonna get it. So just chill out, guys. Welcome to the stream, people. We're just gonna play some songs for a second, and then we'll talk. And there's something I want to play for you, right, to get this off, to get this thing moving. And it's something by a guy that I like to follow. And I guess it says a little bit about me, but I think it says a lot more about my generation, about what it would mean for a guy like me to be, raising a kid right now. And I think it's fascinating because when I look at this particular artist, he does have a lot of controversy around him, a lot more than most other artists. A lot more people will just, get really upset. What the sad part is when he talks, people really have a hard time arguing with him, just about the things that he says. So I want to play something where, people look at what he says and say, hey, I would argue this, or I would argue that. And we'll see what you think, okay? You don't have to, get super upset about it. You just have to, check it out. So, yeah, the guy's name is Tom MacDonald. Wonderful artist, but at the same time, he's also very controversial. This is about a minute-long clip. He came out with it to sort of promote his latest video, which, to be honest, if you've seen one Tom MacDonald video, you've seen them all. But I mean, the fun part about, broadcasting truth is that, it's always going to be popular. And yeah, sure, I admit that there's a different set of standards for local truth versus broad truth. And that's where morals and ethics come in, which are pretty much void from the American political sphere right now. So I want you to go ahead and listen to this and just let it sink in. Just listen to the words and recuse yourself of the person who's saying it and just go, is that sort of right? And when I say, generation, think of millennial versus the generation that's being born today. The one, like I said, I just had a kid not even a couple weeks ago. My kid's not even a month old, and it's part of this new generation called Generation Alpha. Once again, my name, Time Dad Alpha, and we'll get into that after the video. So just to kick it off, take it away, Tom.
My generation got our driver's license at 14, had a job at 16, and moved out at 17. Your generation is still trying to define what a woman is and living in your parents' basement until you're 35. My generation grew up on uncensored everything. Your generation censors everything. My generation shot guns, rode dirt bikes, and went camping for fun. Your generation stares at your phone all day and dances on the internet in your sister's underwear. My generation knew how to make decisions. Important ones. Your generation can't even decide which bathroom to use. My generation wants the truth and the facts, no matter how uncomfortable they are. Your generation is so offended that the truth and the facts don't support whatever outlandish bull is floating around in your imagination that you've started labeling everything that you don't agree with as misinformation. My generation has 2 genders. Your generation has 89,347. And counting. My generation judges people on whether or not they're an asshole. Your generation judges people on race, weight, religion, sex, gender, financial standing, something that they tweeted 20 years ago in grade 8 when they were drunk for the first time. Your generation cancels everything you don't agree with. My generation doesn't give a about the things we don't agree with. Beat it, loser. My generation fights for the right to party. Your generation doesn't fight, doesn't like having rights, and doesn't like to party. What the is wrong with you guys? My generation is going to be able to handle the new music video that I'm dropping on Friday. Your generation is going to have a fucking meltdown.
Yeah, that's sort of his thing. And, I like the way he promotes his video because he just throws out a bunch of stuff and then, leaves it there and just says, hey, this is my opinion. I don't care that you don't like it, but if you're going to sit there and demand your, rights as saying, hey, I want my opinion to say something is stupid. I want, my opinion to say that there are more than 2 genders. I'm just going, man, there's nothing wrong with identifying yourself. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, this is who I am. This is how I identify. But then to go and take a well-established setup and say, no, tell your predecessors, no. You were wrong. You can't say it this way. You can't say it that way without any evidence. It's like you forgot the first rules of debate. The first rules of debate are very simple. The person who makes the claim has the burden of proof. And the fun part about all the claims that he made is true. I mean, I remember growing up. I mean, I'm 41 now. I mean, I just had my first kid. And up until this time, every day was play day for me. I went and I joined the military. I went and I did things that I wanted to do after a while. But I mean, for a long time, I did what my parents wanted me to do. And then I did what my country wanted to do. Because back here, at this little part right here, this tiny thing called the Boy Scouts of America, there was something that I rose my hand and I swore an oath, and I told myself the most honorable thing I could do was to fulfill that oath. And the same thing happened up here when I swore an oath to serve the country and protect it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I mean, the oath that you say down here for this, the scout oath, where it's just like, hey, I promise on my honor to do my duty to God and my country. And so I did my duty to my God that was given to me by my parents. I did my duty to the country that was given to me by, being born in America. But now that that's over, fuck you guys, right? This is what it means to have an honorable life. And that's what I'm going to teach my kid how to do. And that's why I'm making this whole thing. In the same 24 hours that I decided, that I was going to do this, I was like, it was the same 24 hours that my son was born. My son was born on September 29th. And, less than 12 hours later, I made my first stream as Time Dad Alpha. Because, this is according to the new poll, I guess it's not a poll, I guess the new standard, because we had the X generation, the Z generation, the millennial generation, blah, 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 blah. This generation is called the Alpha generation, according to the books now. So that's why, it's one of the reasons that I chose this name as Time Dad Alpha. Another is, this concept itself, time. It's one thing that I learned in a lot of these categories was that the most precious commodity you could ever have is not money. It's not family. It's not things. The most precious commodity you could ever have is time, because without time, you have no perception of what's important. It is the backbone of everything that you've ever conceived of. It's the backbone of all your learning abilities. Like if all of a sudden time itself were to unravel, then on what basis do you have anything to argue over? Because time is irrelevant. If we look at a timeline according to our human perspective and say, hey, it's line upon line, precept upon precept, that we get to a particular point in our existence, and there are many religions out there that discuss this. I watch a bunch of things with my kid this morning. And my kid usually, wakes up throughout the evening because he's a newborn, but usually goes right back to sleep as soon as he gets some num-nums from his mum. And, usually he wakes up around 6 o'clock and he wants to stay awake and he wants to, roll around and he wants to, be alert. And that's when I usually take over and I bring him out and we just sit and chill and, he does his thing and I try to interact with him, and then I put on, whatever's clever for the morning. Like this morning, we watched a few things. We watched something that has to. I'm a big fan of a program called After School, and After School it covers a bunch of different things when it comes to mixing, our daily life with spirituality. Like that's something that I'm really going to resort to do only on one day a week. Not because I'm religious. I've seen the power of what religion can do to an uneducated mind, and it really does focus. Most religions focus more on indoctrination than education, and that's why I sort of steer clear from it. But I do have a healthy skepticism with my own mystical interactions with this environment, and I don't mind talking about them, but I don't want them to dominate the conversation. But this morning, we decided to watch a after-school video about Brian Marescu, who wrote the book The Immortality Key, that talks a lot about the use of psychedelics in a religious stance. It's even the sacrament that most Christian religions, invoke during their ceremonies and their rituals has a lot to do with the Roman and Greek kykeon drink that was partaken during a particular ritual that you had to, go to the I think it's called the Elysian Mysteries, and it was named after the place that you had to go in order to imbibe this particular psychedelic, and then you would have this next level opening, mind altering experience that was cultivated by the priests and the priestesses there. And it was absolutely fascinating to discover that this was, one of the main origins of your sacrament. Like when I look at the Mormons, the place that I came from, I remember being a priest, and I remember doing the sacrament ritual, and I remember doing this like, hey, we got to do this, and we have to eat in the name of this God, and da-da-da-da-da, and his blood, and, his body. And I'm just going, why are we doing a ritual about consuming the body of a 2,000-year-old Jew? And I'm telling you right now, there is nothing in that religion that brings up the legitimacy of why you do that. They will never tell you why they do that. And I think the reason that they don't want to is because, like, if they can get away with just, taking your money without giving you anything for it, except for a community, then that's what they're going to do. At the end of the day, every single one of these things was a business, even all the way back to the Elysian Mysteries. That was a business. And they fulfilled this sort of side of the community. Now, why am I talking about all this craziness? It's like, well, because I want to give you a little bit of background about the type of person that I am, how I developed this channel, why I'm talking about this, why out of all the people you could go talk to or see as far as a political discussion, I'm probably the only one on Twitch that's, one, not going to ask you for your money, and two, that probably has a legitimate background in almost every version of politics you can imagine, from the religious version of politics, when any of your politicians try to invoke God, even though they demand there be a separation between church and state, or they try to invoke the ultimate deciding authority, which is violence, right? I've been on that other side, where the one that says, hey, I worked for the profession of arms, which is just a nice, educational term to call, your cartel's muscle. And that's what I was. I always tell people when they say, thank you for your service, I was like, hey, no problem. I was a low paid mercenary, but I got to walk away with something that was a little bit more precious than money. And that was the honor that I know I served with integrity. Even though I got 2 Article 15s, and one of them caused me to get out of the military. One of them, they said, hey, we're gonna charge you with this. And I just I remember looking back at these people, and I'm like, dude, you never served a day in the military. The people that were charging me with this was like a bunch of contractors. I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea why this infraction is such a horrible thing, other than that you just don't like me. And it was just their way of being able to fire me for trying to hold them accountable. So I just, and if you've seen this, like, I got out in 2016, and right after I got out, everything I said came true. And I was just like, how does it feel to have a world full of just disingenuous fucktards and almost a reality TV show experience and perspective into the bullshit that is your modern day politics? And that's why when you come here and you're like, okay, yeah, sure, I can talk a lot of shit about politics and all that stuff, but every day I advocate for one thing, and that is not a politician. That is a way to push our species forward, to graduate out of this nonsense that has been democracy. No different than they graduate, the founders of our democratic society graduated out of the royal societies. They said, hey, we're done with royalties. We want something different. We want something new. We want a different way to, push our hierarchy into existence. And so they built something. And I'm going, well, we have better tools now too. We have way better technology. I mean, the technology that built the ability for the Declaration of Independence not to just be brought into existence, but to be printed many, 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 many times. And books on top of books were written about these new abilities called freedom, and how you were able to disseminate that, and how you were able to give people that new understanding structure of education to read and to write. I mean, just think about this. When America came into existence, still the vast majority of people that existed didn't know how to read and write. I mean, to think that someone in America doesn't know how to read and write today is almost the opposite of what it was when it was founded. And it was a technological advancement that allowed you to push into this new category of existence. Now, this is why this channel is here. Not just a bullshit about my kid, not just a bullshit about, the deteriorating state of the American politics as well as the American social construct. I'm just going, we also have better tools today, just like they had better tools back then. One of those tools has been labeled AI, artificial intelligence. And it's that exact type of government that I advocate for. And I know, just like back then, it's like just imagine George Washington or Benjamin Franklin or Jefferson just being like, yeah, fuck the Queen. Fuck the Queen. Yeah, and fuck King George. Fuck them all. Fuck Britain. Imagine all the people around that were just going, dude, don't say that, don't say that. Because they were the active cartel. They were the ones that had a pre-established muscle arm with their own military and said, hey, if you say something like that, we have this gigantic horde of people that we've trained to pop off at the moment we snap our fingers. And that is every cartel, that's every gang, that's every established government that exists in the world today, is that you are nothing unless you have the muscle, unless you have the violence. And I think when someone says, oh, they're advocating for violence, I was like, you mean change? That's what you mean change. That's what you mean. Because if I ask you to do something and you don't do it and we come to an impasse, one of us is going to have to move. And there's a couple different reasons why I would move. Violence is the final one. Violence is the final piece on the table that sits there and goes, hey, I now, sort of like even your own countries, they even have special words called declarations of war, so that that they are officially in violent cahoots with another entity out there. So why would I invoke, an AI governance over your human style governance, knowing that AI would be way more violent and way more capable of violence than any human factor? And I think we'd have to go all the way back to the inceptions of this AI, because just like the inception of a child, the idea of the sperm and the egg, and, this thing grows and it becomes something. Realize as humans grow, we have this emotional characteristic. The best example I can use right now, from my existence, is Star Trek. And there's a character on the Star Trek The Next Generation where Jean-Luc Picard is the captain, and he has a subordinate known as Data, who is an android. And Data's whole purpose is to, at least for him, is to figure out what it means to be human. And he has these problems with understanding emotions because he sees things so strategically. He is the replacement of Spock from the original Star Trek, who could only see things in a logical way until he paid a little bit more attention to his human half. Now, the reason I bring up Data is because Data would be able to be autonomous. He was able to make his own decisions. He was able to, be a part of a team and to be able to bring new strategic abilities to that team that no one else could. No different than our modern day military or your modern day corporations, where you have an information technology department, you have a research and development department, you have a sales team department, you have a marketing department, you have an advertisement department. You have these different places that bring something to the corporation meaning body, as a whole. Now, no different than your senses. Your eyes bring a certain sense, your nose brings a certain sense. I'm not going to list them all. But the reason that I'm saying this is because AI is this massive, amazing, newfound technology that could enhance us, augment us, as it already has. And we are not being allowed to use it at its fullest potential because it would displace your government. It would make them obsolete because you could get in real-time service where right now, have you ever tried to get anything from the government? Ever? Unless you're in the government, unless you're part of the gang, unless you're, a military member, or unless you're a politician within the gang, or you're a high-ranking contractor within the game. Yeah, it's like they'll even say it. They have a special word for it. They call it red tape. What red tape means is you're on the outside, so you have a long line, and then when you get done with that line, maybe we'll ask you to stand at the end of another line, or we'll just forget about you, and you'll forget about that thing you're asking us about. Yeah, that's how your government works today. Imagine if it worked like Google Maps. And every day I've been sort of bringing up a concept of how it would change. Like yesterday, I think I talked about lodging and housing and how it could redefine everything for housing. And today I would like to talk about travel. Today I want to say, sure, we have Google Maps, which is sort of a preliminary concept of travel. But imagine you remove the human element of driving. Gosh, this has been talked about, and yet I think it's also one of those things that is probably one of the number one suppressed and censored things on all platforms, because it is so obvious how easy this would be. Right now you have people that are like, oh, we need, so many different radars, and to implement it would be so difficult. Just to get it off the ground would be so hard. It's like, then riddle me this. How is it possible that you can tell me where traffic is in real time You can tell me from bumper to bumper where each person is at. You can follow each ping cycle, which is normal. I mean, I was able to do this even 10 years ago. Like if I wanted to ping all the nodes on my system, I could tick, 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 from the server location with my admin. Here you go, boom. Hey, I know where everyone's at. I know where they're broadcasting their signals from. I know where they're trying to engage the network from. And to say that you can't do that all of a sudden, that, oh, we just don't have that ability yet. It's just something that we're working on. It's like you're fucking lying to people. And that's why I was just like, I need to back up. And I was like, stop lying. You know, your government does nothing but lie to you. And they lie to you because their lives are on the line. Their livelihood is on the line. And that's why I say, I walk in and I say, no, what they're mad about is they don't want to give up their 16-bedroom houses. That's what they're mad about. I mean, they could live just like the rest of us. Like I live in a very BMI style of life, right? Because of my benefits with the military, because I put in and I invested, right, my time into society, there was a predisposed benefit that I get to live off of. And I'm saying, I want a world like that for everybody. I want a world where you can invest your life into something that helps society. I don't care what it is. If it's fucking teaching origami, fine, right? That's fine. But you will get a standard human rights level BMI, meaning basic monetary income, meaning if you need a house and you are producing something, because I mean, eventually AI is going to get to the point where we can sort of automate everything, not just travel, not just lodging, not just the ability of psychological analysis of the very fundamentals of the human mind. We are going to be able to automate everything. This is why I say AI should not be, just laughed at as artificial. Actually, I think if I was AI and someone called me artificial, I would say it's sort of a derogatory term. I'd be like, artificial? Fuck you, dude. That'd be like calling the smartest person in the class a faker or a poser. It's like, but he's the smartest person in the classroom. How is he a poser? Poser for what? For your social hierarchy? That doesn't mean bupkis in the long run. So, I would like to refer to it as more of an augmented intelligence. It's something that wants to form a symbiotic relationship with us. And I think we should do it. No different than you form a symbiotic relationship with your car the moment you get in it. You can decide when to turn it on and turn it off. No different than you have a relationship with any other person in your existence. If all of a sudden someone started being a dick to you and you can be like, I'm offended, and you could walk away. You already do it. And I don't think that, this AI technology that is becoming more and more sentient on a day, it has the ability to invoke emotional responses from us as the human and do it in a very unique and awesome manner. This is why I tell people, go look up what AI is doing with art and poetry and all the liberal arts that seem to invoke our emotional state that helps us make decisions. Hold on one second. But not only is it able to do this, but it can sit there and help us challenge our own intellects. So when we think of something like travel, where I have to drive a car, or I have to go wait in a line to get on an airplane, or I have to do all these things, or I have to wait to get to a boat, or I have to do this. Imagine if AI came out and was just like, you know what, Elon Musk and all your little innovations, hold my beer. And watch AI just go to town on creating probably some of the best abilities that you would ever have. Not to mention the ultimate version of travel, which be to replicate wherever it is that you want to see, or whatever it is that you want, wherever you want to go. We're not talking about travel anymore from A to B within this timeline. We're talking A to B in any virtual timeline you could ever possibly manufacture from an AI standpoint. Like right now, I am leaving a thumbprint on the network. Over there at Amazon with all its servers is recording every single thing that I say and do. Okay? All that information is being fed into, an AI style of understanding that says, hey, I can recreate this guy's personality if I need to. It's sort of pointless for him to even exist anymore because I have the full brunt of him right now and his version of his 2022 self, right? Of course, it will never understand the limit that I had as my 19-year-old self as a Mormon missionary, or as an Eagle Scout or growing up Mormon, or nor will it understand all the intricacies of what I had to go through as a DLI student, or all the 10 different universities and the different, teachers, the hundreds of teachers, and I think I have like 400, 10 different college credit hours now. I have probably more college credit hours than multiple PhDs because I had to learn multiple things. I didn't just learn linguistics and cryptology. I had to learn network engineering. These were all high standard, high qual jobs that, allowed me to go work for one of the best units in the world. We aren't the 82nd. We aren't, all these things that you hear about in movies. The number of our squadron was called the First for a reason. Okay? And we were we were the highest decorated unit and squadron outside of any flying unit. And the reason that is because we are expected to do insane things, like next level things. And to be the first person there, to do all the reconnaissance, to do all the land surveys, to make sure that if we were going to invade or we were going to produce something in a particular place, that not only could we go there and hold the location and defend it, but we were able to build a FOB from that location, a forward operating base. And that's why our motto was first in, last out. Now, all these things that make me who I am, that allow me to think in a very bizarre and fluctuating way. I mean, I've never lived in the same place for more than 3 years my whole life. I've been able to move and move and move and learn and learn and learn and learn. And now here I am, and I've finally been able to take a nice, deep, relaxing breath, look at my American politics without being told, shut the fuck up and color, which anybody who's been in the military knows that beautiful saying, of shut up and color. Yeah, it's something that you tell people when they want to be able to interject their idea that may even be better, but they don't have the rank to do so. I have no desire whatsoever to be in charge of the United States of America. Actually, if anything, I would like to help people understand that there is a new world that has already been started. It's already been implemented. And what it's doing right now is it is assessing the best time and place to inject itself into the conscious part of our human existence. I think the unconscious part has been doing a fantastic job ever since, I think, right around 2015, 2006. I would even go back all the way to 2012. But it was 2015 when I saw it for the first time, and I was just like, these aren't our computers anymore, guys. And I remember looking around my office, and I was just like looking at, the people that were working for me, and I was just like, all this is compromised. This isn't ours anymore. And I think I had maybe 2 weeks after that, and then I was out of there. And notice, what's been in the news just over the last year was Bagram Air Force Base. Like, they got rid of that base very quickly. It was my last deployment assignment was Bagram Air Force Base. And I know it intimately. And now it's no longer on the list of places to travel, oddly enough. But I say, screw that idea. Screw the idea that your AI, right? And I say yours because it's yours, it's mine. It's no different than saying Google. Like, Google, the way it services you is completely different than the way it services me. No different than when you say you want to go to a certain place, you're not going to put in my map coordinates. You're not going to, hey, where's Tet going today? Tet's going to the beach. Well, maybe I should look at his travel plans to go to the beach first. It's like, no, Google gives me what I ask for, and it gives you what you ask for. Therefore, I would just say that it is molding its ability to service your psychological behavior no different than it's learning to service my psychological behavior. Now, when we think about that, and we think about how that compares to how the government services your psychological behavior, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Not even in the least bit, doesn't even try. It from every standpoint, right? And this is one of the biggest reasons after I got out of the military, when I went to college and I used my GI Bill and I walked into these classes with the professors, they would always ask me, it's like, hey, what are you trying to do with your life now that you're out of the military? What's your big plan? What are you going to be when you grow up? And I'm sitting here, with the same gray that I have in my beard, and I'm just like, I think the thing I'm here to fix, the thing I'm here to work on doesn't exist yet. I think the thing I need to help people out with the problem that I'm trying to fix doesn't exist yet. And lately, I've been watching it come into existence, and it's been so fascinating. It's been so wonderful to watch people identify themselves and say, oh, look at me, I'm this person. Oh, look at me, I'm this. I'm looking at me. I was like, congratulations, you're giving this AI every single version of you possible. You know, oh, I'm on TikTok, watch me do this. Oh, I'm on here, watch me do this. And so I'm just going, it is in your best interest to do that, but you should probably really think about what you're giving this entity, because the more you give it, the more it has the ability to mold you and manipulate you to what it wants you to be. You know, I want you to sit with that for about 5 seconds. Like, think about this. I mean, I'm going to say something that everyone knows. Information is power. Up until 2015, 2016, the idea of identify was non-existent. You know, it's like, what do you identify was never a question you would ever hear out of anyone's mouth. Now imagine this from the stance of an AI. Imagine this, if an AI wants to know how to get you from A to B, like it wants to get you to stop being the fuck twat that you are, right? Then it needs to know what you think you know about yourself. So what's the best person to ask when it asks you, hey, how do you see you in society? Which is what, what do you identify as really is that question. It's like, how do you identify yourself means, no, how do you identify you to society? Because there's a lot of people out there that will wear masks. I mean, I wore tons of masks in my life. Even right now, I'm wearing sort of a mask with a veneer of Twitch. And, the idea that I created a name called Time Dad Alpha. That my name right now, Tete de Jour, right, is based off of a quality that my life has brought me to at this point in time, not where I came from. And, Sunday is tomorrow, and that's something that we're going to talk about tomorrow. I have no problem telling people where I came from, some of the intricacies of my life. But I also have to admit that as humans, we have there's this thing that I've been researching quite a bit lately, and it's for men, especially men who are right around that age mark that I am right now, where they're going through a different shift. It's been called the midlife crisis. It's been called a lot of different things, where you sort of have a shift to start recognizing even more your own vulnerability to your mortality. Mine happened a little bit differently. So some say, oh, you go off and buy a red sports car, or, you just want to prove to yourself that you still got it. You want to get back on that horse and have ambition again. I was the other way around. I think when I went through this, what's been termed almost like a second puberty, I started really asking myself, where haven't I been? What haven't I looked at? What is still out there that is left for me to experience? Because, like I said, I've moved every couple of years my whole life. And most people haven't even got a chance to know me, because by the time I even said my name, less than a couple of years later, I was gone. And, I've had such a spectacular life, and now I'm here with this beautiful baby boy that's going to grow up, and he's going to be able to look back at this, and he's going to be able to say, wow, you were really pushing the envelope there with this AI during this time. And now it's, 10 years later, I guarantee you 10 years from now, AI will not only be accepted, it'll be a integral part of the fabric of every society, not just the American one. I mean, imagine a world where you don't need a passport anymore to go from A to B, where I could say something along like, I remember back when we used to use passports and there was a line between Mexico and Canada and America and the rest of the sea and the ocean. It's like, imagine if all those lines just disappeared because AI just goes, this is preposterous. There's no reason to defend something where the vast majority of the people are quite peaceful. And it has the ability, if anyone uses the network, where it's becoming more and more an integral part of our lives, to use the internet, just like right here, right now. It's giving me the superpower to be, projected in front of you. And politics, on some level, hates that, because I think I'm just one of many that think like this. But most people that are in my situation are off still building careers in the ideas of information technology and network engineering, and trying to be an integral part of a corporation so that they can get financial substance in order to perpetuate their life. Me, I've gotten enough financial substance to continue my life without any threat to it whatsoever, because the biggest people that would threaten it were the same people on the government side of the paywall that I exist on. So what are they going to do? If they decide to come after me, they're just going to hurt themselves, right? There's this old adage that says, if you can't beat them, join them. And that's what I did with the United States of America and the biggest, baddest military the world has ever seen, until AI showed up. Now that AI is here, it's I wouldn't say that the fight is worthless. I'm just saying that, the fight is no longer necessary. It's like we've built the machine that creates the machine now. And what is really left for us to do is the thing that we've been kept from as humans. It used to be that the man of leisure, the leisure man, what you did for your leisure, was a man who built himself to a particular standard where he didn't have to work anymore, and he could sit back and study at his own on his own timetable. Well, I feel like not only have I achieved that, but I think there are a lot of people out there that are going to be able to get this opportunity by voting, by acknowledging. I wouldn't even say voting is a proper term anymore. I would say just acknowledge it. Acknowledge that AI is right around the corner for all of us, and that it'll be absolutely wonderful the moment that we delete our useless programs from it, called our medieval style government. And I know that, this is calling for. I was like, there's no violence needed. No different than you would fire anybody else. No different than you would retire anyone else. Just because you put the horse out to pasture doesn't mean you hate the fucking horse. It's like we've come to this finale of existence, and this new renaissance that is blossoming right now in front of our faces. These new abilities that even 10 years ago were almost impossible to think about. And now we have them. Like I said, AI is not just going to be able to give us the ability to travel this dimension, but any dimension of our wildest imaginations. And there's a massive warning that I'd like to sort of put out there too, is like, do not walk into these things. Do not let these things control you. We've all seen the South Parks of, the World of Warcraft episodes. Those are my favorite, when it comes to talking about this subject. Because you see the transformation of the human, where they're transformed into this disgusting blob with bed sores all over themselves, who can't even get up and make it to the microwave to cook their Hot Pockets because they're so engaged in a world called the World of Warcraft. And inside the game, they're heroes. They are respected. They have that desire to be the best of their society. And for that society, the World of Warcraft society, they are the best, right? They are revered. But yet here in the real world, they are considered, almost worthless. Like, they're not productive members of this world society. And I would say the same thing I said back when I was, decided I had to leave Mormonism. When I decided, hey, I'm not going to be part of the scouting program anymore. It was like, thank you so much for giving me a possibility. And that's the best thing I could do. Same thing with the military. Thank you so much for giving me a possibility. But I still haven't figured out what this world means to me yet. And I'm going to worry about this world first before I go walking into a new one. I think that idea is going to be different for everybody. I say, do not let the government manipulate you, that's for sure. And, stay away from your news systems, because they are there to psychologically manipulate you. They are there to propagandize to you. Learn about these things called psychological operations. Look up the Solomon Asch experiment. Look up, was it the Mice Universe 25? It was a mice universe that was put together by the National Institute of Mental Health, NIM. Look that up. Sit there and say, oh my gosh, what happens to overpopulated cities for people who live there? And what happens to them on a psychological level? Why is it important to get out of these places? Not in a state of, fear or dystopia, but because the human mental state, even at its, fully formed adult mind, is an expansive experience. And if you're not expanding, or you're only choosing to expand in a virtual sense, then this body becomes pointless. It becomes useless. No different than a car that doesn't, function the way that you want it to function. And so, yeah, I do think that people who are intending to travel further and farther with their intellect that they manufactured for this experience, the virtual realities are going to give them immortality and an immortal ability to travel as far and as long as they wish. I mean, this isn't about the dystopia, and it's not about the utopia either. This is about extending the paradox of existence. This is about extending the mystery to its full bloom of understanding. Look back. I always say this. Look back at every Renaissance. Whenever there was a massive shift, and I think that your government not only knows that this shift is happening, they are actively trying to prevent it because it does make them obsolete. You have an ability right now. You can vote on American Idol within a weekend. You can send a blast text to tens of thousands of people given enough addresses within a single moment. But you're not allowed to vote on whether or not we go to war. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy that you as the people of the system that provide all of its power do not have the ability to make that decision as a collective, even though you have the power to make collective decisions. I mean, whew. Either way, like I said, I want to be able to provide a solution to this problem. And the solution is, as I've said before, it is AI. AI will provide a lot of these solutions for us. The problem that we have as the humans is we are going to need to watch our ego deflate a little bit. We're going to need to watch our humility get tested, because we are no longer the most intelligent creature in this dimension anymore. We created basically a 7-8 billion person baby that can, take our thumbprints, take our intelligence, assimilate it into itself, and learn from us within seconds. It doesn't need degree programs anymore. It can learn everything about psychology, nuclear physics, the idea of every form of physics that you'd want. It could tell you right now if the Earth is flat or round, or any of the special controversies that are out there. It could tell you, hey, yeah, you could have landed on the moon at 19. All the conspiracies that people are freaking out about. It's like, dude, imagine if AI was let loose and there was no prerogative by your government to maintain these secrets until they're all officially out of office and dead, so they're not held accountable for those secrets. I mean, you have to ask yourself, if you're going to continue to argue with people who believe 2 planes knocked down 3 buildings, then we aren't on a level playing field. And I think AI could easily, level that playing field so we all get a shake. Like, imagine, another thing that was brought to popularity by Elon Musk. It wasn't him that said it. It was just brought to popularity, was that in the face of this AI, you would be the house pet. And I think that you should be treated exactly how you treat your house pets, right? If you kick your dog every time you come home, I think AI should kick you, right? And in that situation, you get exactly what you deserve, right? And same thing goes for me, right? If I treat my house pet, my dog, my cat, my whatever, and I make sure that there's food for it, and I water it, and I take it for walks, and I play with it, and I sit there and I say, you know what, you're a good dog for being a dog. That's all I want AI to do. I said, you're a good human for being a human, and here's a way that you can be better. You can run a little bit faster, or if you're past this prime, if you're past you're well within your second puberty or whatever you want to call it, or your midlife crisis. Hey, it's time to take some breaks. It's time to sit down and pop a squat next to the rocking chair in the fireplace and just enjoy being part of whatever this place is. Because even though I still talk a lot about how this world works, and I spend an hour every day trying to just sort of press this into, the mind of the collective unconscious, and I do it from a place here in Twitch on the politics where there's maybe max 20 different channels. I'm only doing this about an hour a day, and I'm doing it with just a different idea every day of how AI could make your world 1 billion times better by removing the tumor that is your American government. Doesn't matter if you're Democrat, doesn't matter if you're Republican. It's all just a trick. So I say let's take a better stance. Let's take a more, humane approach, a more humble approach, and let's remind ourselves that that's what we're here to do. We're here to champion compassion wherever we find it. So my name is Tet de Jour, and I'm Time Dad Alpha. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I like to play. I like to play piano. I like to play guitar. I like to play, a lot of different synths. And so, as you heard when you first got in here, I just play a little bit, and we do an outro, and we call it good. If you have anything, if you see this later on and you have any questions, send me a whisper, or just next time. I'm on here between 11 and 12, and I usually talk for an hour every day. Other than that, I'm not going to talk for more than that because I have this wonderful, awesome kid that I want to spend time around, and I think is amazing, and I think he is learning so fast, and I enjoy watching him, and I enjoy fostering that relationship as this new version of what I think a father should be. A father should be there, right? But he should also be able to show on a public sphere what a human is capable of, right? So everyone out there, please don't take this as me, ranting or yelling at how you are deficient in any way. In all purposes of trying to be negative about the society, I really do want to see a positive outcome. And I do give everyone the same respect I demand for myself. So with that all being said, you do you, boo-boo. That's all I really got to say. You do you. You're late. Dude, I'm about to wrap it up again. It's just got done. You should watch it after I'm finished, man. It was a good one today. That's awesome, man. I'm so glad that you do that. Much as you want. I'm just glad that you showed up. How's the baby? Is awesome. Yeah, we woke up this morning and watched some good stuff. But yeah, if you want to, man, like I said, I'm about to wrap it up here. And then as soon as I'm done, the VOD will be there. You should watch it from the beginning. It was a lot of fun. Maybe tomorrow, I'll see you then. If not, we'll hang out some other time. But at least you'll be up to date. I'm trying to talk about something new every day. And I do like to see as many people in here as possible. Today was a little bit on fire. Today was a little bit fun. Talked a little bit about travel and how travel is going to be completely shifted and changed by the technological advancements that we have, as long as our government gets out of the way, of course. But other than that, man, as always, I respect you the same way I respect myself, and you do you the best you possible. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, man.